wind up, buddy. You gave that
Oh
one a
yeah.
good ride.
Oh yeah.
All right. Welcome back to Totally Offside Podcast, episode 15, right, Nathan?
15. Yes. 15.
I write on my notes for this reason. Yeah, there we go.
Número uno cinco. I don't know
Ooh.
what 15 is in Spanish.
Nice job. That was probably really inaccurate.
It's definitely inaccurate.
You're an Asian from Canada. You're not known for your Spanish. So
Spanish. It's 15 in Spanish. Quince. Oh, that makes sense.
Oh yeah, quinceañera. Yeah, okay.
Okay. My apologies to the Spanish community.
Wow, that's like a really important number in their culture, apparently.
Yeah,
too,
I'm so sorry. Quince. Yes. Número quince.
Okay, so here we are. Quince, totally offside. Nathan, this is revolutionary. You know this? This is literally the first time in the history of the podcast this has happened.
We're doing jersey talk again today, lads. However, they are jerseys that I actually like.
We have good jerseys.
They're good jerseys.
It's incredible.
Good jerseys. The really Boston incredible. Celtics, it was either today or yesterday. I think it was yesterday. Released their new city jerseys, and they look good.
Oh, they look so good.
They look so nice.
They're not classy.
Yeah, it's not that there's not too much going on, but it's not boring.
I don't love that like above the great looking Celtics font you just see like Vistaprint, but
yeah,
I can't help that.
That's on every that's on every NBA jersey. There's not what you can do about that. But they're nice.
I don't know, like the gold piping around it and the black side, like it's just so clean.
The font is nice.
It's a very different green for Boston, isn't it? Like in
it
terms
is,
of
but
like
I don't hate it.
No, I
like it. I like the dark green. I will definitely, if I'm gonna get a Celtics jersey, it would be this jersey.
I love that it's the Bill Russell uniform too.
Oh yeah, especially because in the past years, Celtics jerseys have been the most boring things ever because they're just the same jerseys every year.
I mean, you can't blame them because there's such a heritage to that look, but it doesn't mean I don't want. Yeah, exactly, that's true. But like the Yankees are gonna get a City Connect jersey. You know what I mean? Like there's going to be something else. Well, the Yankees have the grays and stuff. I don't know. I get it, but this is a nice change.
It's a nice refresher or a nice break from the awful jerseys we've been seeing.
Yeah, we've just had so many bad ones, dude. Like
looking at you, Minnesota.
I can't take a ratio of like 30-1. It can't happen that way.
No. I mean, I haven't seen the Raptors ones yet.
No, but I am excited for those.
Yeah, I am excited to see.
I'm notoriously a fan of every Raptors jersey.
This is true. Yeah, I don't think they have released a jersey that I've gone.
No, every one of them I'm happy with.
So, I mean, that might be biased, but also
they
just released nice jerseys. So it's fine. Chicago had those really nice jerseys that one year.
Chicago has some nice ones throughout their history, but
Chicago
they just had,
nice
so many bad ones.
They do. They have some pretty garbage
They've also had some really horrendous teams, so it's kind of like degraded the value of some of those jerseys.
Yeah. But that's these jerseys are nice, man. I might buy a Boston Celtics jersey, but there needs to be a player that I want one.
I was going to say, who are you going to get?
I don't know. Because I don't really want a Jason Tatum one. I don't
get a Robert Williams one just so it's super ironic to see you wearing it.
Just get a Robert Williams.
Because you're like the most not Robert Williams.
I don't know. They don't really have any like young players that I want to invest in. I guess Jason Tatum is a young player, but I don't want to.
Well, that doesn't count. It's their superstar.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. I don't think maybe no Boston Celtics jersey this year. But these are nice jerseys. Good job, Boston.
Great job, Boston.
And that was our episode of Jersey Talk.
Jersey Talk. We're going to get something.
Now we do need to get something. Like a little stinger or something.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right, on to contract news.
This is exciting. This is the stuff I'm waiting for. Like, this is off-season, baby. We
have quite a few things to talk about. One of them I'm going to be going very in depth on because I heavily disagree with the contract. But we'll start off. We'll leave that for last. So firstly, we have Tyrese Halliburton, Chris Duarte, Isaiah Jackson, and Aaron Nesmith all got their team options picked up by the Indiana Pacers. I think that's a good move by Indiana. Why wouldn't you? Tyrese Halliburton is a star.
I'm not huge on Isaiah Jackson, but
Isaiah Jackson, I'd put him as a solid bench.
He's a decent bench defender.
So I'd take him. Chris Duarte is a lethal shooter.
Yeah, I love Duarte and Halliburton. That's huge.
And Nesmith is kind of just like a Duarte light.
So yeah, I'm happy to have him if I have him.
Honestly, Indiana, good moves. If I'm Indiana, I'm tanking this year. I'm going for Vic.
Oh, I think you have to.
I would move Buddy Hield and Miles Turner if I were them towards the trade deadline.
Yep.
I'm sure LA would love a guy like the Lakers would love a guy like Buddy Hield.
Oh, absolutely. One of the best 3-point shooters in the league.
Exactly. So, Indiana, be smart about it. I do like your move. This was a good move. But be smart about your future, especially this upcoming year, because Victor Wembanyama will change your franchise.
You can make or break it. You really can. This year's going to define the careers for everybody else that's there in Indiana right now.
Yep. And the Pacers are notorious for not necessarily making the greatest move.
So that's not a history that they're very familiar with.
I'm hoping for the best for them. Other big news, big money for Jordan Poole and Andrew Wiggins.
I was kind of surprised to see Wiggins get it, if I'm being honest.
It kind of made sense. I think they're overpaying him a little bit.
Yeah. But like, if you go give Poole what you just gave him, and then you give Wiggins right behind it, I don't know. It's a good deal. I'm not saying it's a bad deal, but I'm surprised. That's all.
For those unfamiliar with it, Poole got extended for 4 years, $140 million, with $123 million of it guaranteed, and Wiggins got extended for 4 years, $109 million with a player option.
Even if they had a team option, I feel like it made more sense to me.
Even if it was just like 105 or like 100 mil, I'd understand that. 109
4 by 100, but give me a team option on the back end of it, and I don't know. I feel like I would give him that contract.
Yeah, but Wiggins, obviously, I think he's still on the high, and the team are still on the high of him making an All-Star starter last year.
True. I guess that does kind of bump up your argument.
And he was pivotal in their championship run, and he did do a lot. He was very good.
Yeah, he is a core piece.
It's just hard to kind of shirk the notions that were created in Minnesota.
I guess that might be it. It's just
stuff like that. Yeah. So it's kind of still dwelling on him. But the most interesting part of these two extensions is, what does it mean for Draymond Green?
He goes to Philly
because they cannot afford to pay Draymond Green. Well, they can, just not the contract he wants, which is a max.
And he's not the kind of guy who's just going to be like, okay, I take back what I said. Or like he's not going to change his mind.
I'm not going to give a guy who literally averages triple singles a max.
No.
That's just not it.
Apologies, I'm throwing stuff here.
I'm sure he, obviously in the locker room, he's a very important guy. He's a really good leader, except for when he punches Jordan Poole in the face.
That's not a strong bit towards your contract status, no?
Yeah, no. I don't think he stays in Golden State, or if he does, it's kind of like an Andre Iguodala situation where he's kind of just there to be there.
Yeah, that makes more sense than anything, I think.
They pay him a little contract, a little more money than he would get anywhere else. And then, I don't think the Lakers are going to take him. The Lakers probably can't even afford him.
Well, what does he really add, right? It doesn't benefit anybody. It's just that leadership. And not for nothing.
Sacramento won't want him.
You can get guys who can do that, who can also play.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So, and not assault your young stars. For what that's worth.
So yeah, I don't know what it means for Draymond. We'll see if this is the end of the Warriors' big three. I don't think it will be until the trade deadline though, because he's still under contract.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm excited to see what they get back for him. Like, what value does he return?
Because he's still a star. He just doesn't
perform.
Well, just not on the stat sheet. He's not a star on the stat sheet. He's the only.
I feel like Philly is where he belongs. He's just gonna go be a menace.
Yeah, just annoy people.
San Antonio.
Yeah, he could thrive in San Antonio. Maybe he puts up like more than 10 points a game in San Antonio.
Well, and like they could use the leadership, and they're going for what, tank bowl this year, right?
Yeah.
So that works. That works.
More young stars. Brandon Clark extends for 4 years, $52 million. I love this move. I think it's a terrific move. It's a great contract for a great player, to be honest.
Yep.
He's a little undersized, but I don't think that'll really affect it.
I don't think it hinders
6'9", and he's like one of the best centers in the league.
Yeah, and I just love the move for the team too. I think it's a great value. I think you're really happy to have him back.
Oh yeah, shout out Canadian, by the way.
Let's go.
But Memphis definitely values grit, especially in the recent years, and like they're literally the grit and grind Grizzlies again. Just John Moran is leading them instead, and
he's from Vancouver, so that's fun. And played college basketball for Gonzaga and San Jose State.
Yep, he got drafted.
Love it.
2019.
NBA draft round 1, pick 21, draft 2019.
2019. Let's go.
Good call, boy.
I'm trying to practice my draft knowledge for recent years.
He must have moved away from Vancouver early because he went to Desert Vista High School.
But then he went back up towards Vancouver because he went to Gonzaga, which is in Washington.
Right.
So he was relatively close.
Just a West Coast guy.
Yeah, apparently. Except now he's in Memphis, which is more so Eastern. But
I guess, yeah, but his whole life prior to that.
Yeah. Yeah, good move, Memphis. Really big on this move. If they can keep basically their entire core intact, I think they could make multiple title runs.
Oh, for sure.
They just need another star, I think, for Ja, but that's not too hard to come by. And now on to the contract that I disagree with heavily.
I just love that there's damn near a page of notes for this one alone.
There are so many notes.
I was like minorly impressed when it happened, and now I see this, and it's just like, oh, maybe I was wrong. I don't know.
No, it's because I think this year he can prove that it was a good contract.
Okay.
But from just him getting the contract, I think he has yet to prove he's earned that kind of contract. Kevin Porter Jr. extended for 4 years, $82.5 million. And some people might be like, oh, that's not a lot of money. But for a guy like Kevin Porter Jr., who should have been better than he is and is notorious for having locker room problems, I don't like this contract very much. I think if it was I wouldn't have gone past $75 million for him.
No, that's fair.
I have a few numbers to kind of back up my claims. He averaged 15.6, 4.4, 6.2 on 42, 38, 64 averages and 13.2 field goals attempted last season. Which I know that's a lot of numbers, but basically what he's saying is he's shooting a lot. Not many of them are going in.
It's not excellent.
So it's not terrific, especially for a guard to be shooting 64 from the line.
Yeah.
The only number I like out of all of that is 38% from three.
Yeah, that's fine. If it was like 50, 38 and in the 80s, and like I would be much more impressed.
I'd be like, he deserved it. 15.6, it just means he's not getting enough shots up.
Exactly.
But like he's putting up plenty of shots, he's putting up 13 shots a game.
Yeah, man.
Only 42 of them are going in.
Yeah, that's disappointing.
Well, his career averages are 42, 35, and 69.
Wow, so this is just baseline for him.
So this is baseline Kevin Porter Jr. Honestly, not super promising for a guy like $20 million. That's making $20 million a year. I put up some
it's starting to look
too.
worse to me, my friend.
I put up some comparisons too to kind of give you an idea of the range he should be around. Fred VanVleet is making the same amount of money. Mike Conley, Malcolm Brogdon, and Jeremy Grant. All guys who I would say are better than him.
You'd say they're all better than KPJ?
I'd say they're all better than KPJ.
Mike Conley?
I'd say Mike Conley is around KPJ. Maybe not
Isn't
better,
Mike Conley like
KPJ.
33 years old?
Yeah, he's still. I think he's still riding the contract from like when he was a star.
Yeah, I think that's true. Okay, all right.
But yeah, and then cheaper contracts are Gary Trent Jr., Karis LeVert, Tim Hardaway, and Spencer Dinwiddie. Which out of all of those, I'd say Karis is better, Gary's better, Spencer's better.
Yeah, Spencer, I think you can make an argument against, but yeah, I would agree with.
But I think Gary and Karis are both better than
without a doubt. Yeah.
So I have it here that if he can hit 17.5 to 18 points per game on good efficiency this season, when I say good efficiency, I mean at minimum 50. Then I like the contract. I think the contract is fine.
Yeah, and that makes it look much better.
Yeah. The only bright side of the contract that I can really see is 8 of the 14 players on Houston are on rookie contracts. 3 of those 14s are on mid-level exceptions. So 11 of the 14 players are on disgustingly cheap contracts.
So they really don't lose anything by giving him this extra money.
They are already over the salary cap because they paid John Wall so much, and they still have to pay some of his contract.
Gotcha.
But after this year, they don't have. They're probably, I'd say, $30 million under the salary cap.
That puts you in a much better position.
Which is so much money.
That's ridiculous.
On the bright side, they can afford to pay KPJ. Should they be paying him this much? No, not really. But can they afford it? Yes.
So I think it's a matter of we do it, we make sure we give him the extra trust, and hopefully he takes that next step.
They're taking an investment in him. If he doesn't get any better, then he's definitely going to be costing them a lot of money in the future.
Yeah, but that's a risk you take.
But that's most young guys, right?
And if it pays off, you're gonna look like a genius, like always. You know what I mean? When young guys,
then it's gonna be like, oh my god, KPJ's only on a $20 million contract.
There you go. So
he's only been in the league 3 years. I'm not gonna label him. He was drafted 30th, so he's not even gonna get labeled a bust.
Right. Let's give it 2 more years, and we'll reevaluate, and maybe we'll all look real stupid for doubting him.
Yeah, we'll come back later. And speaking of looking into the future a little bit, I've got some NBA predictions for 2022-23.
Let's go.
We're going to do awards, finals, and then I just have a few random extra things tossed in there. Oh, and I'm going to reevaluate these when we get to the All-Star break. And then I'm going to change some of them if I feel like they deserve to be changed or if they need to be changed. And then we'll see where I end up by the end of the year. So, Luka Doncic or Joel Embiid for MVP. Those are my choices. I still don't really know which one I would have as the one.
Either way, you could call it a favorite, I think.
Yeah. If Doncic is as good as he was last year or better, and the Mavericks perform better than last year, then he for sure wins it. There's no argument against it.
Yeah.
If Embiid replicates his performance and Doncic doesn't meet the expectations, then Embiid should win it. So I have 1-2 as Doncic and Embiid.
Fair enough. It's Doncic's to lose, you're saying?
Yeah. I think this year is Doncic's to lose. Honestly, if I'm being completely honest, it's always going to be Giannis's to lose. But I think voters' fatigue has made it so that it's not really Giannis's to lose.
Yeah, that feels fair.
Because people will be like, oh, he already has 2 MVPs. I want other players to get an MVP kind of thing. Same thing with Jokic. I don't think Jokic is going to get
how long can Giannis just make playoff runs and not win it and keep winning MVPs? Are you still the most valuable player?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
He's won once in those multiple playoff runs. He lost to Boston. He lost to Miami.
Exactly.
Toronto.
I think until you start proving you can win it all, you're not showing that you're really the most valuable.
I would take 4 championships out of Giannis. At least one more.
Exactly.
2 championships. 2 MVPs, two championships, 3 MVPs makes sense to me.
Yeah, I could hear that. That would be reasonable.
For Rookie of the Year, I've been talking about this kid for ages, Paolo Banchero.
And I feel safe locking in my 2023-24 pick for Victor Wembanyama, so we can lock that in right now.
Yeah, lock that in now. But I've been talking about Banchero since the summer league.
Yeah,
this kid is nothing but impressive. He's definitely proven that he is the first overall pick, and that he should have been the first overall pick.
I think without a doubt.
Yeah,
and I think you can't even argue it anymore.
Yeah, no, not at all. So, Rookie of the Year, honestly, as long as he doesn't get injured, I don't see any way that he doesn't win it. It's just impossible for him, or impossible in my mind for him to lose it. Sixth Man of the Year, Jordan Poole, starting caliber player pretty much. On any other team than Golden State, he would have been the starting point guard. But, Steph Curry and Klay Thompson exist. So he can't really play the one or the two. He's the heavy favorite to win Sixth Man of the Year. Tyler Hero's the only guy behind him. Realistically, everyone else is kind of just way down there.
Yeah, somebody would have to take a big step to really scare that award away from him.
Yeah. I could see like a player like Ayo Dosunmu kind of climbing up into like the top 5, but that's only because he's starting this year because Lonzo's injured. So also I have Ayo Dosunmu in my fantasy team because our draft was last night.
Oh, there you go.
So I hope he does well. I got him with my very last pick.
Really?
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive. I'm not gonna lie to
you. My team is kind of stacked. I went in early and I stole all of the good centers. Because the centers are so top heavy in this league that I just figured if I take all the good centers, no one else will have any good centers.
You got to win matchups there. So give me the rundown of the team. I know this is kind of in the middle of what you got going on, but you got to run it down for me.
We'll here. I'll finish up these.
Wrap up.
Finish up these awards, and then we'll go into it. Okay, so DPOY. I have Bam Adebayo or Drew Holiday. I think Bam Adebayo will win it just because he's a versatile defender. He can guard like 2 through 5, 3 through 5 comfortably, but 2 through 5 normally. But I do want Drew Holiday to win it because I think guards need more recognition as defensive powerhouses. And I think recently that happened because Marcus Smart won it last year. But I just think that guards need to win more DPOIs.
I would love to see it. I think a lot of guards tend to get overlooked just because they are guards.
Yeah, and because they can't get those 4 blocks a game kind of guys.
But I mean, if you have a guard averaging 2.5 steals a game, I mean, how do you not consider that guy?
Yeah, exactly. So Drew Holiday, I don't have the numbers, but I know his opponent field goal percentage is stupidly low. He gets decent amount of steals. I know his
advanced metrics like that come into play much for these awards because I know that they tend to overplay for baseball awards.
Especially for DPOY, stuff like that comes into account because getting a steal and a block doesn't necessarily mean you're a great defender. It just means you were there at the right time.
Exactly.
Whereas
that's what a lot of defensive statistics are in baseball. It's the same thing. It's based on where you were positioned, but you can position yourself wherever you want.
It mainly opponent field goal percentage, and there's on-ball pressure, where it's it's basically the stat that measures how much pressure did you apply to the ball handler, right? How difficult did you make it for the ball handler? That takes into account tipped passes, loose balls, how many the cone of passing, so where he can realistically pass to. Covering how small did you make that? Yeah.
Okay. I
a lot of it is eye test based, but it's not a thing that you can really track.
It's not, but it's still statistical.
Well, because how are you going to track how many passing lanes you cut off realistically?
Exactly. There's no way to keep track.
You don't really know, but you can kind of, based on educated guesses and kind of looking at the positioning of the players, you can figure it out.
It can be inferred.
Yeah, so Drew Holiday, I think, has a good chance to win it, but I think Bam Adebayo is going to win it. If it isn't either of those two, it's obviously going to probably be Rudy Gobert or Giannis. Because,
do you think Rudy's like overall performance is affected now that
he's in Minnesota?
Yeah, like do you think it changes?
I think it does.
I think so too.
Because he's no longer the only big man on the roster.
No, I think you're now number 2. I think Cat's number 1.
Yeah, I think Cat's number. Honestly, I would put Anthony Edwards above him too. I think Rudy's number 3.
Really? Okay. So now bench? Like what?
No,
starting lineup.
Yeah, he's I think Cat's playing power forward this year.
Okay.
And then Rudy's gonna take the center spot.
Isn't Cat 7 foot though?
Yeah. They're running Twin Towers.
Okay, that's interesting.
And then they're gonna have D'Lo, Ant, and then they're gonna have, I think it's Jalen McDaniels.
Jalen McDaniels is right.
Yes, because Jaden McDaniels plays for Charlotte. I think. Yes. I always get them mixed up because their names are like identical.
If I didn't just play a game against both those teams in 2K, I wouldn't have been able to say you were right. So
yeah, if like when their parents were naming them, why would they do that? Why would they go Jalen and Jaden?
It's almost like they just wrote Jaden twice, but then looked at it. Well, they can't both be Jaden, but we didn't I don't know, scribble out the part of that D. Just part of it.
Like, perfect. It's perfect.
I don't know. Yeah, I think seems lazy, seems confusing.
Minnesota has a decent starting lineup. I think Anthony Edwards is above Rudy Gobert, and it is exactly why I think he's going to win the MIP award this year.
It feels like he should.
I think he's going to win it. I think he's going to go from starter to all-star this year. I think he's going to make an all-star team. I have him just barely beating out guys like Tyrese Maxey, Tyrese Halliburton, and RJ Barrett.
But if they have like slightly down years, I think Anthony Edwards has a chance to run away with it because he's so explosive and just exciting. I don't know, man.
The primary issue was that he was inefficient for his first 2 years.
That's true.
But I think that's something he could work on because he took a lot of dumb shots is basically the idea. He would hook up threes that he cannot make. He's definitely an around the rim kind of guy because he's built like a running back.
Well, yeah, he's uber athletic.
So I think if he plays more kind of the way John Morant plays, he's literally unstoppable. Because no guard is going to be able to contain him because they're too small. He can play small forward or shooting guard. Small forwards are probably, right now, small forwards are too skinny to guard him because the small forward position is very lanky and is very like a stretch kind of situation. So I think Anthony Edwards will definitely run away with MIP this year if Tyrese Maxey and Tyrese Halliburton specifically don't have great seasons, or if RJ Barrett just doesn't kind of meet the expectation that is set from the end of last year.
Which I think is like, it's a massive X factor, not only like for the Knicks, but I think for a lot of those kind of play-in positions in the East.
Yeah, for sure.
If RJ Barrett can get on one this year and actually kind of take it another step, I think that really shakes up a lot of teams' outlooks kind of fighting for that play-in spot.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Now we'll just cover NBA Finals and then random extra stuff, and then we'll go on to the that fantasy team.
I'd like to preempt this with my World Series prediction was emphatically wrong. So don't expect us to be wizards. I mean, Nathan is a wizard, but I
don't know if I'm going to get this right. I have Dallas and Philly in the finals, which is probably far from what everyone else has. From what I've seen, it's a lot of Golden State, Milwaukee.
Yeah, I think it's hard to deny Golden State in the West.
But I think Dallas is going to be able to do it based on the Luka Doncic MVP situation that I think is going to happen.
I think if anybody could do it, it would be them.
Yeah. And I think the Sixers will win it all in 6. Joel Embiid wins Finals MVP. Those are...
Doesn't feel like that's hot prediction. Of a take.
It's not that hot of a take. I don't think it is. I think just because everybody has Milwaukee and Golden State, people might see it as a hot take.
I don't know, man. I like it. I think it's a strong pick.
I think it's a strong pick. I'm not going to put money on it, but I think it's a strong take. And then we have payout. Yeah, I mean, I would have a crazy payout, to be honest. Maybe we'll put like $1 on it.
Yeah, long shot. Let's go.
Yeah. And then I got some few extra random stuff that didn't necessarily fit in the category, and I just kind of wanted to talk about them. I think the Wizards make the playoffs. I think they make it in the... It kind of contradicts my other statement. I think I'm going to change it, actually. I think the Wizards make the play-ins.
Okay. I can see that.
Because the East is very, very strong right now.
Yeah, they could reach for 10.
Yeah. I think they'll probably be the 9 seed going in.
Really? Who do you think? I could
confidently say 10. New York could be there.
I think New York probably outplays.
Detroit could kind of.
Detroit could make it interesting, yeah.
I don't know. The 11 through 9 is an interesting.
If the Wizards make the play-ins, do you think they make the playoffs?
I actually have my full playoff predictions for the Eastern Conference. I don't have it for the Western, but I do have it for the Eastern.
Okay.
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Anthony Edwards make first-time All-Stars. I think Chicago struggles early, but Lonzo kind of returns later in the year, and they pick it up from there.
Forget he's in Chicago.
I think the Raptors end as the 6th seed behind Philly, Boston, Miami, Milwaukee, and Cleveland.
Okay, so is that the order they're in as well? Philly, Boston, Miami, Milwaukee, Cleveland, Toronto?
Miami, Milwaukee is interchangeable, but I do think it's Philly, Boston 1-2, unless Boston struggles to figure it out this year because of all the stuff that's gone down.
Okay.
And then they beat up Brooklyn and Atlanta. Brooklyn and Atlanta both make it through the play-ins, so this means that Chicago doesn't make it into the playoffs. So then I guess Chicago would be my 9, and then Washington would be my 10.
Okay.
But Atlanta makes noise in the playoffs, but they don't get past round 1 where they lose to Miami. So I would actually have Miami at 2 probably.
All right, I see that.
In the West, I have New Orleans finishing as a 3rd seed behind Dallas and Golden State. And then I have Minnesota finishing as a 5th seed behind Memphis and the team's name.
You think New Orleans outdoes Memphis?
I think New Orleans outdoes Memphis if Zion stays healthy.
Okay.
Portland makes it in the playoffs. I don't know where, but probably not the 6th seed, probably through the play-in. And the Clippers will start off strong, but Kawhi and PG will probably struggle with injury again, which will lead to a mediocre season. They do make it to the playoffs, but they lose in the conference semis.
Well, that's it, Clippers fans. Wrap up your season. You know how it goes, because that sounds spot on to me.
So that's where I have. Those are my random extra ones. We'll see how those are. We'll come back to this episode.
I think that's probably this Clippers team legacy, right?
Yeah.
Kawhi and PG are injured all the time, and it's exciting, and they have a chance, but they kind of struggle.
You're like, this is our season, and then it just never is their season.
That's disappointing.
Yeah. But you know what isn't disappointing? My fantasy draft.
Yeah, you always have the best fantasy draft in any sport. It makes me feel like you just set up drafts with you and your brothers, so you can get whoever you want.
But then my team seems to suck.
But then they always underperform. I don't know what it is.
Yeah. So we'll see how this goes. Basically, so point guard. This is the only fantasy league though that I really care about, because this is basketball. And I feel like if I do poorly in basketball, then I'm letting myself down.
Yeah, then we're going to have to give it to me, and you're not going to be able to talk about anything.
Yeah. So I'm just going to be there. I'm going to be your hype man.
No, you're not gonna be able to say anything. You're just gonna listen into the podcast while I talk the whole time.
So here is my starting five. I got DeJounte Murray at point. I have Zach LaVine at shooting guard. Keldon Johnson is at small. Bam Adebayo's at power, and Nikola Jokic at the 5.
Wow.
So my big men are Bam Adebayo and Nikola Jokic.
What a starting 5.
Then I have Zach LaVine and DeJounte Murray as my 1-2. And then Keldon Johnson at my 3.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So that's pretty good, right?
How many like defensive points is DeJounte Murray gonna get you? Like, is defense really calculated?
Probably, yeah. That's probably, yeah. Steals are worth 3-4 points.
Oh shit! Yeah, he's gonna rack you up points.
I had Matisse Thybulle last year purely for that reason.
Awesome.
And then he kind of started to slow down, so I let him go. But off my bench, I have Trey Jones, who I talked about as a potential sleeper that you could grab late draft.
Taking your own advice. That's a good example.
I have Lauri Markkanen, who I think he's going to be the guy in Utah. He was also one of the sleepers in the thing that I put.
Man, if anybody listened to our podcast, they could have just figured out who you were going to draft like 2 weeks ago.
I have Jonas Valanciunas coming off the bench.
That's fun.
Which rounds out my big men of Bam Adebayo, Nikola Jokic, and Jonas Valanciunas.
You're going to get so many trade offers.
They're going to be like, I want all of your centers. I'm like, too bad, they're mine. I have Gary Trent Jr. coming off the bench.
Okay.
Herbert Jones, because he's terrific defensively as well as he's improving offensively. Cole Anthony, Denny Avdia, and Iota Sunmu.
I like that team, man.
I made sure none of my guys are projected to play under 25 minutes a game this season.
Wow.
Actually, none of them are projected to play under 28 minutes a game this season.
My God. That's how you draft.
So all of my guys should get court time. Like a lot of court time.
That's fun, man. I think you're going to have to update us. I want to know how fantasy goes.
All right, I will. And plus I have Jokic, so that's already like a shit ton of points right there.
Yeah, you're going to win most games based on that anyway.
That's a lot of points right there.
You've got to be like top in power rankings preseason, right?
I mean, I hope so.
I can't imagine anybody has a better team than you the way you snatched up bigs.
Yeah, I went through and I kind of I snuck in all of the centers at the top of my draft, and then I kind of drafted from there because I know point guards go pretty deep in the draft. Small forwards are very top heavy. Most point guards are going to score you quite a bit of points. Yeah. Small forwards are pretty top heavy, so I kind of struggled around there, which is why I have like Keldon Johnson as my start. But Lauri Markkanen, Zach LaVine, Keldon Johnson isn't too bad.
That's a fine rotation.
I'm gonna have Denny Avdia coming off the bench too. And then power forwards and centers I know are super top heavy. So that's why I went in and I just got all of my power forwards and centers right away.
Exactly. That's such a good move.
Didn't care about anyone else. I was like, I'm just going to rack up those guys and then I'm going to figure it out after. Yeah, that's the roster.
That's exciting, man. I wish I was more into fantasy. I wish I cared about it a lot more.
Maybe we'll do a totally offside fantasy.
That'd be fun.
Well, totally offside pending, I guess, because of the upcoming
pending. That's okay.
But we'll do a podcast. We'll do a podcast fantasy league for the listeners too.
We could just do a bunch of sports.
We could, yeah.
We'll just have like our host like team for each one, and we'll have a bunch of listeners.
And people can see how they match up against our team.
Probably real good. We don't know what we're talking about most of the time.
Oh yeah, that's true.
All right. Well, yeah. So for this week in the NFL update, I kind of did something a little bit different because we're 6 weeks in now, I guess. Yeah. I kind of wanted to go and look at some records that had been set, or kind of maybe some just storylines that we're starting to see etched out, but going to keep with most of the stats as per usual. So we'll start off. Commanders took down the Bears 12-7. Kind of a whatever game, but in our Justin Fields saga, He went 14 for 27. He had 190 yards. He had a touchdown interception, but he had 12 carries for 88 yards rushing. He led the team. Khalil Herbert only had 7 carries for 75 yards. So, yeah, I mean, I like to see Justin Fields get more into it. I mean, that's something we've talked about every week, I feel like, Nathan, is why is Justin Fields not doing anything?
I think there was a stat that I saw. Forget who it was. Oh, it was why am I blanking on his name? The Rams, Cooper Kupp.
Okay.
Cooper Kupp has more receptions than the entire Bears roster.
Wow. That's funny, but it's not surprising considering how much Justin Fields has like done nothing all season.
Yeah, has just not thrown.
And I mean, today he was good. He was effective. They lost. I mean, the Commanders had 5 sacks, but like I'm impressed with what he did.
Yeah.
Dante Pettis had 4 receptions for 84 yards and a score, and Carson Wentz is out now 4 to 6 weeks with a fractured finger on his throwing hand. So,
which is not great for me because fantasy.
Yep.
He's my backup quarterback, so now I got to go get a new guy.
Bright side, you can go get a good backup quarterback. But Carson Wentz had been kind of sort of balling out here and there. And
yeah, he had his days.
The Commanders are going to miss him for sure. Giants beat the Ravens 24-20. This was a great game. Lamar Jackson, not excellent, 17 for 32, 210 yards, touchdown and an interception. He had 7 carries for 77 yards. Mark Andrews and Kenyon Drake were really the story today, though. Mark Andrews, he had 7 receptions for 106 yards and the only throwing score for the Ravens. And Kenyon Drake ran all over the Giants. He had 10 carries for 119 yards and a score. There was no answer for him at all. Daniel Jones had 2 TDs. Saquon had 22 carries, but he only had 83 yards and 1 score, so he was limited pretty well. And right now, I think Brian DeBoer should be your Coach of the Year favorite by far. The Giants, I think, are now 5-1. This is the 7th time, the first since 2009, that the Giants have started 5-1 or better in the Super Bowl era. They did it in 86 and 90, and they won the Super Bowl both of those years. So
the odds are pretty good there.
Giants looking pretty good this year, but don't get your hopes up because Giants fans, you know better than anybody, they find a way to crush your soul.
Very true.
They are due for their once a decade run though.
That's true.
Take down Tom Brady in the playoffs. It's kind of their only game plan, it seems. Colts hammer your Jags 34-27. Nobody on the Jaguars really stood out at all. Matt Ryan though, this is a big game. 42 for 58, 389 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Huge. Michael Pittman, 13 receptions for 134 yards. And this is what I'm talking about. Colts quarterback Matt Ryan, 61,500 passes Dan Marino, Hall of Famer, 61,361 for 7th most passing yards all time. That is obscene.
That's a lot of passing yards.
Matt Ryan is not... Like, I don't know. It's just like, it's funny because he's always been like, a good quarterback. Yeah, I would never call him an elite quarterback.
No.
He's just played forever.
Yeah, that's true.
And now I don't know. I don't know if Matt Ryan's a Hall of Famer. Maybe he is. Maybe these types of things accumulating are what makes it. But like to pass Dan Marino.
Well, I was going to say he blew a chip.
Yeah. 4-time Pro Bowl, 1-time All-Pro, 2016 AP MVP. I guess that's is that the press?
I don't know.
2016 PFWA MVP. I don't know what that is.
I don't know, dude.
2016 AP Offensive Player of the Year, 2008 AP Offensive Rookie of the Year. 2016 Burt Bell Award, 2016 PFWA Offensive Player of the Year, 2008 again, 2008 SN Rookie. So I don't know what a lot of these awards are, but he's got a lot of awards. The 4-time Pro Bowl and the 1-time All-Pro really help. Career 228 games.
3. That was the score. It was 28-3. It's very unfortunate Very unfortunate game for Matt Ryan.
He's acquired over 3,700 fantasy points over his career.
That is a lot.
It's crazy. He is exactly 61,500 yards right now. Yards per attempt is 7.4 for his career. That's pretty impressive. Okay, I don't know. Maybe Matt Ryan's a Hall of Famer.
Maybe Matt Ryan for Hall of Fame.
Kind of not where I meant for this to go, but yeah, I thought that was.
But that's what it is now.
Patriots kicked the shit out of the Browns 38-15. Bailey Zapp was 24 for 34, 309 yards, 2 touchdowns. Ramondre Stevenson had 2 rushing TDs. And this is depressing. Jacoby Brissett was 21 for 45, 266 yards, 1 TD, and 2 interceptions. But Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt altogether ran the ball 16 times, and that just isn't enough when Jacoby Brissett's your quarterback. Nothing against him because he's a better quarterback than I would ever be. That's for damn sure. But God damn it, he can't be throwing the ball 45 times. Yeah, I don't know what that's about. Three Patriots defenders, Dietrich Wise, Matthew Judon, and Anthony Jennings, recorded 4 or more quarterback pressures. I guess that's why he was like less than 50% completion, because no matter what he did, there was always somebody in the backfield chasing him. And this is really interesting too. With a win over his former team, Bill Belichick tied legendary Bears owner and coach George Halas with 324 career wins, including playoffs, the second most by a head coach in the history of the NFL now. And it was also his 257th regular season win, tying Don Shula, former Miami legendary coach, for the second most wins by a head coach with a single team. So, yeah, eat shit, all you Bill Belichick haters, because that guy is now one of the, without a doubt, greatest coaches confirmed in the history of the NFL.
Arguably the greatest coach of all time.
Took down literally, like the 2 names mentioned with him, George Halas and Don Shula here, are literally 2 of the most legendary names in all of football history. So, damn. Bengals won over the Saints 30-26. Burrow was 28 for 37. He had 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. Jamar Chase, 7 receptions, 132 yards, 2 touchdowns. And this is interesting too. Jamar Chase has recorded 16 interceptions for 353 yards and 4 touchdowns in his last 2 games in New Orleans, which was the 2020 College Football Playoff National Championship, and then obviously this Sunday against the Saints. So I thought that was pretty interesting. I guess if you're the Saints, keep an eye on Jamar Chase. You want to bring that guy to New Orleans someday. Steelers upset the Bucs. This is huge, Nathan. We were talking about how the Steelers were just pathetic as anybody last week. And they win 2018 in Pittsburgh. Kenny Pickett did get replaced by Trubisky. He left with a concussion. And Trubisky kind of led the way to the upset. They win their first game without TJ Watt since he was drafted in 2017. They were 0-8 entering today's game. And Tom Brady loses his first game versus a rookie starting QB since 2014. He was 12-0. So
that's crazy.
Kind of a really crazy upset.
Yeah, big upset.
But yeah, I guess that's decent for Pittsburgh.
Sure, a lot of people got eliminated from their pick'ems pools.
Oh yeah, I guess
they probably picked the Bucs for sure to win over the Steelers. They're all probably out now.
Falcons get a much needed win too against the 49ers. That's a big one, 28-14. Jimmy G, pretty okay looking line, 29 for 41. You'd want a little bit more completion, but almost 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions hurts. Brandon Ayuk, 8 receptions, 83 yards, and 2 scores. But Marcus Mariota, and this is weird, okay? They get the win. Marcus Mariota's 13 for 14, 129 yards, 2 touchdowns. Definitely an inflated stat line because of the touchdowns. Yeah. Also, I didn't know Marcus Mariota played at Oregon. Thought that was cool. There are now there's 2 players now with 2+ passing touchdowns, 1 or fewer incompletions, 50+ rushing yards, and 1+ rushing TD in an NFL game since 1950. Okay, that's a lot. You get that? Okay. Hall of Famer Walter Payton in 1983 and Falcons quarterback Marcus Mariota versus the 49ers on Sunday.
The one thing I find hilarious about whenever there are things like these awfully specific,
like historic
records.
stats, records.
Yeah, it's like 2+ passing touchdowns, 1 or fewer incompletions. The moon was a waxing crescent. There was a
73 degrees and roughly 827 to like 843. Yeah, I get. There's a lot of qualifiers.
They're always awfully specific, and it's like only 2 people have done this. I'm like, yeah, because
that's a seriously specific set of circumstances.
Yeah, the odds of these circumstances happening again.
It is. I think it's of note because it's Walter Payton. It's not a quarterback, right? Like Walter Payton was a running back to do this, and now this is the only other quarterback that's ever had this type of line.
Yeah.
So it's
obviously impressive. I'm not saying it's not impressive. Bro throw 13 for 14. So
yeah, regardless of how many times you attempt, I mean, a lot of guys go 13 for 30.
So that's impressive.
To only miss one of your throws is huge. And not only that, but he had a rushing score too. So clearly he was good on the ground.
So shout out Marcus Mariota. It's just very funny to see those awfully specific records.
Well, I think it's just a way to get Walter Payton and Marcus Mariota in the same conversation because otherwise that would never happen.
No.
Jets take down the Packers 27-10. This is a weird game all around because Zach Wilson is 10 for 18 with 110 yards, and that's it. I think he got sacked and lost 7 as a rushing attempt. So, didn't have a game. Breece Hall had 20 carries, 116 yards in the score, and Braxton Berrios had 1 touch, and he got a 20-yard run out of it. So those are both good. Corey Davis had 2 receptions for 52 yards, and Aaron Rodgers and the Packers just kind of looked broken. Aaron Rodgers was 26 for 41 with 246 yards and 1 score. And Breece Hall just continues to show that he's a stud. Also in this game, Quinnen Williams, he leads all defensive tackles in pressure rate at 14.8% and sack rate at 3.7. Had a career high 7 QB pressures with 2 sacks on 34 pass rushes. And I'm going to put a picture of Quinnen Williams up on the screen. Nathan, I recommend you Google him. That guy is not somebody I want to see if I'm a quarterback. Quinnen Williams is a monster, okay?
It's a big man.
That guy's the head on him. He must have custom.
The head alone is
you have terrible. To just fit him with a 5-gallon pail. It's ridiculous. So, I guess that's the big story of the Jets is maybe some of these defensive players because that's damn sure not Zach Wilson. Vikings beat the Dolphins 24-16. Kirk Cousins 20 for 30, 175 yards, 2 scores. Justin Jefferson had 107 yards on 6 receptions. And Teddy goddamn Bridgewater 23 for 34 with 329 yards. Holy shit. 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. And then Jalen Waddle had a few issues today that probably could have helped them win the game. But Tyreek Hill had 177 yards, and Jalen Waddle had 129 yards. Teddy Bridgewater balled out, and Mike Gesicki had 2 touchdowns and has been practicing his touchdown celebrations in the mirror. So I feel like you have no real reason not to win this game when Kirk Cousins only throws for 175 yards. But the Dolphins find a way to lose it. Yeah. And Adam Thielen, his touchdown was the 51st of his career. This is interesting. He passed Wes Welker, 50, for the 3rd most touchdowns by an undrafted player in the common draft era. Antonio Gates has 116 and Rod Smith has 68. They're the only 2 guys ahead of him. I thought that was pretty cool. I didn't know Adam Thielen was undrafted, to be honest with you. But I also didn't know Antonio Gates was undrafted, and he's a fucking monster. So I doubt there's anybody who ever catches that. Yeah. Antonio Gates played till he was damn near 40, and he was a legitimate top tight end in the league for a portion of his career. And the fact that he went undrafted is crazy. Rams beat the Panthers 24-10, and the Panthers have officially, I think, sold out on this year, as we'll get to. Nobody stood out here. Everybody on the Rams just kind of played well, and nobody played well on the Panthers. McCaffrey was kind of mediocre by his standards. And Matthew Stafford's interception in this game was his 29th career pick 6, tying again mentioned Hall of Famer Dan Marino for the second most by any player since at least 1950. Not a record you necessarily want to hold, but anytime you can get mentioned with Dan Marino is probably a good thing, right?
Yeah.
Seahawks, they beat the Cardinals 19-9, and I didn't like double check to find out if it is, but it sounds like a scoregami. That's a weird score, right? 19-9.
Yeah, it's what, 3 field goals on one side, and then...
Yeah, or a touchdown and a safety. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't.
But we missed one because the Seahawks beat the Lions a few weeks ago, 48-45, and that was a scoregami.
True.
That one didn't seem odd to me. Maybe
I think it was just because it was so high that like no one bothered to like.
Well, I guess that's what it is. Yeah, I didn't think of it. 19-9. I was like, that's surprisingly bad. There's got to be some anyway.
14 plus a field goal. No, that doesn't work. I don't know how they got up there. There had to have had at least been one safety.
But Murray did say, he was quoted saying, this is the hardest year, his rookie year was the last time shit felt this hard, is the quote.
Oh, actually,
yeah.
They could do 4 field goals and a touchdown as 19.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like 19 is just like, that can't. How many games have ended with somebody getting 19? I don't think that's happened.
4 field goals and a touchdown. Anyway, carry on.
Okay. Murray today had no scores throwing anyway. I don't think he scored at all actually. 1 interception, 222 yards, and he had 10 rushes for 100 yards. I don't know. I mean, I think it's just a down year in Arizona or something, and maybe it's the big money. Like, whenever you sign a player to a big deal, the next year after is usually the worst of that contract.
I had him making it to the Super Bowl, so that's a feels bad.
Yeah, you should. Yeah, maybe not share that with anybody. Geno Smith was mediocre. Kenny Walker III was mediocre. Geno Smith was 1 for 6 passing for 17 yards on passes of 10 plus air yards in this game. Prior to this game, he had registered a 129.7 passer rating on such passes in weeks 1 through 5, which was the 3rd best mark in the NFL over that span. So today he just couldn't throw 10 plus yard passes, and every other week he's arguably the best in the NFL at it. So I guess that's an explanation. But Seahawks rookie quarterbacks are kind of what's making their story this season, it seems. Tariq Woolen had his 4th consecutive game with an interception, and he's only the 3rd rookie since 2000 to do that. He also had a fumble recovery, which has given him 6 total takeaways this season. No one else in the NFL has more than 4. And Kobe Bryant, yes, Kobe Bryant, Cobybryant, forced the fumble, his 4th forced fumble in 22, which also leads the NFL. So their cornerbacks are just coming up huge for them, like literally outplaying every other defensive player in the NFL right now. So that's something you like to see if you're a Seattle fan. A couple more games here, and then obviously Broncos and Chargers are going tonight at 8:15, which we can't talk about yet. But the Bills beat the Chiefs 24-20. Josh Allen had almost 330 yards and 3 scores. Stephon Diggs had almost 150 yards and a touchdown. Gabe Davis, our boy, that'd be a fun interview, wouldn't it, Nathan?
Oh yeah, that'd be terrific.
We could drive down to Buffalo.
That'd be amazing. Get Gabe Davis and Dawson Knox.
That would be fun. I feel like if we're getting those guys together, we gotta go out drinking or something though. We gotta go party.
Be big time at some point though. We'd have to hit big time.
Yeah. These guys aren't gonna hear about us maybe ever. They both had touchdowns, and Teron Johnson on defense had a touchdown, as did Kaiir Elam. So everybody for the Bills just scored today, I guess.
Whole roster.
Pat Mahomes threw for almost 340 yards, but 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Juju and Kelsey both had over 100 yards. And look at this. He's mentioned again, Nathan. Patrick Mahomes, 168, passed Peyton Manning, 167 for the 2nd most passing touchdowns in a player's first 6 NFL seasons. Mahomes now only trails Hall of Famer Dan Marino, 196.
Dan Marino.
This man, nobody understands how good Dan Marino really was, and I think reading through these records is starting to make it a bit clearer for even myself. That guy is unbelievably good. Mahomes played only one game as a rookie in 2017 too, for what it's worth. So I think if you give him the extra year, what do these numbers look like?
Or gets close to, at least.
Oh yeah, he's got to be just below Dan Marino. And then big game. Eagles remain undefeated after beating Dallas 26-17. This is another one. Why does a quarterback keep throwing? Cooper Rush, 18 for 38, 181 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions. Whereas Zeke had 13 carries, 81 yards, 1 score. Give the ball to Zeke 30 times.
Just keep giving it to him.
I know the Eagles are a great team, but Zeke is a better chance of winning you the game than but Cooper Rush does.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Jalen Hurts only had 155 yards. Sanders and Hurts together, they had 71 and 27 yards rushing, respectively. A.J. Brown had 67 yards, and he and Devontae Smith had touchdowns. The Eagles didn't show out this game. The Cowboys just kind of let them have it, I think. That they just rolled over. The Eagles scored 20 points in the second quarter, bringing their total to 112 points scored in the second stanza in 2022, which is the most points by any team in any quarter in the first 6 games of a season in NFL history. It's also more than 11 teams, including the Cowboys, Packers, and Rams, have total points in 2022. What a weird stat.
That is, it's a little...
It's very convoluted. But the fact that it's the most points by any team in any quarter through the first 6 games of a season in NFL history blows my mind.
It's crazy that it's all of history.
That's what I mean. If it was since 2000, I wouldn't have even mentioned it.
Okay, whatever. But the entirety of NFL history.
The first NFL game was played in the 1960?
I can fact check that for you real quick. The first
1920. Okay, that doesn't. Because it was the NFL and I guess the AFL. So it's when was the merger?
The Triangles played the Panhandles.
NFL merger.
What a team.
Yeah, 1966. So that following season was the first year where the NFC and the AFC came together, or whatever it was, NFL and the AFL came together and became the AFC and the NFC and the NFL. It's the first time. Since 1967, this has never happened. Nobody scored more points in any quarter in the first 6 games of a season. Wow. Anyway, something that I find is a little bit more impressive, honestly, is Micah Parsons had 0 QB pressures on 10 pass rushes in the first half. He had 2 QB pressures on 5 second half pass rushes. So I don't know what he did in the second half, but one of the best pass rushers in the NFL was totally limited for the first half of the game, and then just kind of came back to what you expect to be some of the best in the second. Really weird how football works like that.
Yeah.
And then a couple pieces of NFL news that I honestly didn't have until an hour ago. So since the Panthers fired Matt Rule, they're 1-4. They are apparently also getting rid of some of their players of value. Robbie Anderson gets traded to Arizona from Carolina, and it comes a day after he was removed from the sideline by an interim coach, Steve Wilkes, during the loss to the Rams after he got into multiple spats with wide receiver coach Joe Daly. Apparently, there was a bit of a fight going on, and it kind of kept persisting throughout the game, and so he was removed. And now he's been traded to the Cardinals, who are without Marquise Brown. He has a foot injury, and he's going to miss some time. So Robbie Anderson steps in to fill that spot, give the Cardinals a little bit more on the receiving core. And the Cardinals now owe the remaining $690,000 prorated portion of his base salary. Yeah, I don't know. I kind of like it. I like it for Arizona.
Yeah.
Even when Marquise Brown is back, you're happy to have Robbie Anderson as well.
I have Robbie Anderson, so it's nice to see him getting a bigger role.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too. Kyler Murray, I mean, as up and down as he's been, I trust him to throw me the ball a little bit better than I trust Baker Mayfield right now.
Yeah.
So that could work out pretty well for him. And the Panthers continue to figure out what the hell they're going to do. And the Texans fired Jack Easterby. He is the vice president of the team, I believe. He was hired. He was a former chaplain and character coach of the New England Patriots in 2019. And he kind of got a significant voice in the organization's moves. He was responsible for hiring their director of player personnel, Nick Caserio, and the team's new general manager, as well as bringing in Lovie Smith as the new head coach. And it's kind of a weird move. Normally, teams don't like make mid-season fires of these type of staff, but he did have a stretch of control over the football operations last year during as an interim role. And they are 1-3-1 after back-to-back 4-win seasons. So at some point, you got to turn to the front office, and they start clearing house. So he's the first to go there, but I'm sure he'll find a role somewhere else in the front office. And now we get to some college football. And Nathan, have you checked out some college football?
I just fact-checked it. It was Tennessee, not Texas.
Excuse me?
It was Tennessee that beat Alabama.
Tennessee Vols, you're right. I wrote Texas Longhorns because of the orange. Yeah, okay, that's my bad.
But yes, yeah, Vols. I did. I caught the end of that game.
Did you?
I did. It was a crazy game.
Well, the Vols beat the Crimson Tide 52-49 on a field goal. Crowd took down the goalposts after storming the field, not in Texas, in Tennessee, and walked them through the streets, under red, green, yellow, street lights, paraded them. The what was he? Was he the vice president or what was he? The team chairman or something? Did you see the video of the guy? He's up in the box. He's watching them get torn down, and he's smoking the biggest cigar. And he goes, "We're doing this shit every year. I don't care about tearing them down. We're doing it every year."
They got fined $100,000 for storming the field.
Yeah,
and
they
did not care.
Not at all. Did you see the size of the cigar he's smoking? He's got the money.
His literal reaction was, "I don't care."
Yeah, I don't care. We're doing this every year. That's awesome. Oh, it looked like such a good game, though. And that's what college football is, man. The crowd was insane. High scoring game. Huge play at the end. It all comes down to a crowd doesn't rush the field in the NFL. That doesn't happen.
No.
In college
football.
That
happens all the time.
College football, baby. TCU stays undefeated with a win over Oklahoma State. That's huge for them. And no longer undefeated. USC was handed their first loss by Utah. Oh,
that's unfortunate.
Not what you want to hear if you're a USC fan.
No, that's very unfortunate for USC.
I feel bad that I'm as a Canadian, we're not really exposed to college football. Yeah. So I never have that much to talk about it, but the games that matter, you hear about.
Oh, for sure.
I don't know. I wish I had more time or there was more around me that encouraged the intake of college football. I just don't. I don't.
Yeah, an actual college football team.
Maybe, yeah, that would be good. I mean,
yeah, we don't have those, unfortunately.
I don't know. When I played football, I remember my coaches talking about playing, at Queen's University or whatever, and they won national championships and stuff. We talk, but our college football isn't college football.
No,
our college football is CFL football at best.
Yeah, probably.
I don't know. I mean, I know Guelph has a great team. And I've seen their stadium. It's big. You got the Panda game for Ottawa, right? School rivalry games are big and stuff, but we don't have 100,000 person stadiums for college football. And I don't even think we have full ride scholarships for athletics, right? You still got to it's 50%.
Definitely not at our school.
Yeah, it's 50%. Like I remember I went to high school with a guy who went to go elf as a running back, and he had to get knee surgeries on both of his knees, so he didn't play for a long time. But he went on, it was like a half ride scholarship because that's the max they can offer for an athletic scholarship. So I was like, it's not the way it is here. So it's just not something we're used to. But God damn it, it is exciting. Speaking of exciting, we got some playoff updates, and this is the year of the underdog, I think, Nathan, because Yankees Guardians are tied at 2 apiece. They play tonight at 7. Yep. Josh Naylor, did you see his home run against?
I saw the little rocket baby.
Yeah, I believe his quote was, "He's my fucking little baby." I think as he rounded second, he looked at Cole, said, "You're my little fucking baby," and that's Josh Naylor, baby, Canadian.
Yep, and Cole didn't necessarily take kindly to that.
No, in his post game presser, I think he said that's cute when he was asked about his home run celebration.
So it's gonna be interesting to see.
Dude, okay, but the thing is, if Guardians take down the Yankees, then everybody in this round who won more games will have lost.
Yeah.
Actually, that's not true. I guess the Astros swept the Mariners.
Astros will, yeah.
But Philly beat the Braves. Padres beat the Dodgers. Like I said, Yankees and Guardians are going. If Guardians beat them, you can't tell me it's not the year of the underdog.
Yeah.
The Mariners took down the Jays. I would argue that you could call that a minor underdog.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I don't know, man. I think that the new playoff format is proving chaos, and I think it's what you want, but I honestly don't think it's what you want in year one. If you're like Rob Manfred,
but I am here for the year of the underdog. I'm here for the chaos.
Frankly, at this point, all I've got left is the Padres, and unless they make the World Series interesting, I don't care, because
that's true.
Philly, whatever. Astros, I can't help but hate you. Thanks for beating the Mariners. That was some revenge, but whatever. Dodgers, okay, but you can't root for the Dodgers because they're just expected to win it. And Yankees Guardians, well, okay. The Yankees I can't root for. I'm a Jays fan. They fucked up my season. And the Guardians, well, I don't know. I mean, I was kind of against how the Guardians treated their offseason, and the fact that they made it this far is great on the players, but I still don't appreciate their front office that much. I just don't want to root for any of these teams.
Yeah, so there's not really any teams that are interesting.
Yeah, I mean,
earlier in a past podcast, I think when Juan Soto went to San Diego. Thank you. I had the Padres making it all the way. I think I would have
loved to see a Padres Braves championship series.
Yeah,
because it's Padres finally beating the big brother, and it's Braves back for more after last year. That would have been an NL matchup. That would have been better than the World Series.
Unfortunately, we're getting Padres. Maybe Philly.
I hope Philly doesn't make it. I don't know. I was mad that anybody gave Kyle Schwarber the money they did, because the Jays were going to do it. I'm glad they didn't. And I'm like, the only thing he does is hit home runs. The only thing.
True.
If we check out, let's look up Kyle Schwarber. We'll go to Baseball Reference, and I want to read you. Yeah, okay. 2022 batting average, 218, 46 home runs, 126 hits, 2.2 WAR, 94 RBIs. Did swipe 10 bags. That's literally half of his entire career stolen bag totals. That's interesting. 323 OBP, 504 slugging, 827 OPS, LPS plus of 130. I don't know. That's a decent stat line, but the fact that you barely hit 200, and where's his salary? You're getting paid $20 million. $20 million to barely hit 200? I don't know. I mean, yeah, sure, 46 home runs is nice, but Judge hit in the 60s, and then it was Kyle Schwarber, and then everybody else was in line reasonably. So maybe you argue technically like home run leader, if not for an insane alien Aaron Judge. Maybe that's worth 20 million. I don't know. I don't want them to win a championship. I really don't. I don't really know why. I guess I'm making up excuses right now, but
you're just an unhappy boy right now.
I think it's just that they pretty much took me out of the playoffs. Like the Braves were really what was keeping me alive. And now I just don't really care anymore. So Padres face Philly tomorrow at 8, and Astros will face the winner of Cleveland or New York on Wednesday. And then whoever wins those series gets us to the World Series. So not a lot of baseball playoffs left to talk about. We're going to have to figure something out. Well, I'm going to have to figure something out for the off season.
You'll find something.
We'll start doing predictions. We'll start looking at the off season generally gets going pretty early because technically there's already some moves on the way and the playoffs aren't even over. And so we can start talking about those. But unfortunately, we are going to talk about Bruce Sutter passing away. Nathan, you've heard the name Bruce Sutter before?
I believe so, but I'm not familiar with it.
Take a look at his baseball reference page. You're going to find it interesting because he's a guy who really changed the way that baseball looked at relief pitchers and specifically late game relievers. 24 career WAR. He was a reliever his entire professional career. He never started a game. He played in 661. He had 300 career saves on the dot, pitched over 1,000 innings, 1,042, 861 strikeouts, 200 more strikeouts than games played. He's a Hall of Famer. He won the Cy Young Award. He's a 6-time All-Star. He got the final out of the 1982 World Series on a strikeout, and he's a 4-time reliever of the year. There's really not much that can be said about Bruce Sutter that hasn't been said. He is credited, I believe, with being one of the first pitchers in Major League history to throw a split-finger pitch. He played 12 seasons. And he was utterly dominant, for lack of a better term. He started his career with the Cubs. He played for the Cardinals for a long time. We didn't get a cause of death when it was reported, but it was reported that he died on Friday, October 14th. I think Baseball Reference has it listed as the 13th. And it's sad. He was, like I said, he was a Hall of Famer. He was a big part of the game after playing. A couple quotes on him. Bruce was the first pitcher to reach the Hall of Fame without starting a game, and he was one of the key figures who foreshadowed how the use of relievers would evolve, Rob Manfred said in a statement. Bruce will be remembered as one of the best pitchers in the histories of 2 of our most iconic franchises. He won the 82 World Series, like I said, with the St. Louis Cardinals, ending Game 7 against the Brewers with a strikeout. And his last save, number 300, came against the Atlanta Braves in 1988. He was inducted in 2006, and he's survived by his wife, 3 sons, a daughter-in-law, and 6 grandkids. And best wishes to them and everybody who knew Bruce Sutter. Apparently, he was just one of the nicest people in baseball, really. And like I said, one of the most phenomenal relievers to ever play the game. But yeah, like I said, Nathan, we get to talk about some off-season moves sort of kind of already because Carlos Correa has opted out of his deal with the Minnesota Twins. Now, were you aware of how weird his contract was last year?
I was not, but I am aware that the MLB has had some pretty weird contracts based on that other episode where you sent me the whole flowchart
of Julio Rodriguez's new extension. Yeah. So Carlos Correa had signed a 3-year deal last year because it was such a loaded shortstop class. Marcus Semien, Texas. Marcus Semien and Corey Seager, they both signed. That was $500 million in 2 players, both shortstops. You had Carlos Correa, you had Trey Turner. I mean, it was overloaded. And he signed a 3-year deal that had an opt-out after every year. It was worth just over $100 million. And it was always kind of assumed that he was set to take this opt-out. I think he told a Puerto Rican newspaper, El Nuevo Dia, on Wednesday, with the year that I've had, my health, and my being at the best moment of my career at 28, this is the right decision. He was set to make $35 million this year had he opted in. And it's the first time in his career where he didn't make the playoffs, which I found very impressive. I didn't realize Houston was that consistent since they were calling up him and Bregman and those guys around there. But he did say a few kind of contradictory statements, which I sort of expect from Carlos Correa. He's a weird guy. He said, I have a good relationship with Minnesota. I'm very interested in being able to return. I have been in this business for a long time, and I know that things do not always go the way one wants them to. But then he also said, when I go to the mall and I go to the Dior store and I want something, I get it. I ask how much it costs and I buy it. So if you really want something, you just go get it. I'm the product here, and if they want my product, they just have to come and get it. But then he says again, the goal is to build something special with the Twins organization and hopefully be here long term with the Twins. Right now, I see myself playing with the Twins for a long time. So what the hell is it?
Yeah. Are you interested in building with the Twins, or do you want the Twins to come to you?
This year, he hit 291, 22 homers, 64 RBI, 70 runs scored, 136 games. He was out for a little bit with some injuries. The home runs and the RBIs are down. I don't know. I'm pretty sure Minnesota's a hitter-friendly park. I could be wrong. And I know that Houston obviously is as well, but I don't know, man. I know he's a shortstop. 291's great. He's a good defender, but I want to see closer to 30 home runs, and I need to see like closer to 80 or more RBIs, especially for what he wants. He finished 5th among shortstops this year in WAR. He had a 4.4 WAR. I'm not sure if that's Baseball Reference or Fangraphs. It's bad reporting. But Corey Seager last year signed a 10-year, $325 million contract, and that's been pointed as like a kind of very comparable deal for Correa. Maybe. Corey Seager, I think, is a year older or something like that than Correa is, or maybe. I could see somebody giving him this, and I think he might justify that. But I think with how he's played it so far, I mean, he's played himself into another strong shortstop class because Trey Turner is here, Dansby Swanson is here, and Xander Bogaerts is expected to also opt out. So out of
he should have waited a little bit more.
Yeah, I think that you play next year and try to have a better season in terms of counting statistics next year in Minnesota. They finished 3rd in the Central, and the AL Central is still a weak division. And this year, like I said, out of Trey Turner, Dansby Swanson, and Xander Bogaerts, Carlos Correa might be my 3rd option. I mean, I think I want Xander Bogaerts most out of any of these guys. I think that he's been proven, and I think that he has been a true leader in Boston, whereas Carlos Correa may not have been the leader in Houston. So I think he's going to provide you something else, and he's just been more consistent, especially in terms of health and stuff. Dansby Swanson's arguably one of the best defensive shortstops in baseball. He's going to get paid out the ass, and I don't think people expect that. So Correa might have another weird year. I'm excited to see kind of what happens. But that being said, of those other 3 shortstops, Correa is the only one that won't have draft pick compensation attached to him because he's not eligible for the qualifying offer this year. So Turner, Swanson, and Bogaerts likely will all receive a qualifying offer. If they didn't, I would say it's a mistake. So that could probably help his chances. But I think at the same time, I don't know. Does he get the biggest deal out of those guys? It's hard to say. It's interesting to keep an eye on, and it's something we'll have to keep an eye on. But I think after the World Series concludes, might have to go over a free agency expectation and go through all the guys that are available. We'll see what they're looking at. That's going to be a lot of work.
That is going to be a lot of work. It's going to be a long app.
I'm going to need like a day and a half to like just research all the comparables and stuff. I don't know. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, we'll get to that when it comes to it. But for now, tune in. Baseball playoffs are coming to a close before you know it. And like I said, although I'm not that interested, it doesn't mean it's not good baseball. Many of these games are ended on walk-offs. The Houston game the other night went 18 innings before anybody scored. I mean, there's some crazy baseball being played, so watch it. And Nathan, how much left is of basketball preseason do we have?
Basketball starts in 2 days.
Damn. So by the time this gets uploaded, probably tomorrow.
Yeah.
If you're listening on the day it's
Yeah.
All right. This is exciting, man. This is like the ideal time, I think, for sports fans.
Yeah.
We're right in the middle of it.
Trying to make a name for ourselves. The rare time of the year where you get basketball, hockey, football, and baseball all at the same time.
And midterms.
For us.
I have not started writing my history midterm, but I feel okay because I know you haven't either. So, we're fine.
Yeah,
I'll do that tomorrow. It's only due in like 3 days or something.
Yeah, something like that.
So we'll be fine. But yeah, that was totally Offside Pod episode.
Thanks for tuning in. This extra long.
Is it an extra long yet? Oh, she's packed.
Sort of.
She's packed.
It's reaching.
It's 15. It's kind of an anniversary. It deserves a big episode, right?
That's true.
Excellent. So yeah, you can reach us again for now at Totally Off Pod on Twitter. You can obviously reach us here on YouTube.
Yeah, leave us a comment.
Nathan, are there any other updates we should toss out? Is there anything else we want to tell people?
Not really. I don't know. Stay tuned for the rebrand. We don't know when it's going to happen.
Stay tuned for the rebrand for the FBA.
We do know that it will happen. Yeah, stay tuned for the FBA. For sure.
All kinds of stuff. I don't know. Keep listening. It's making me happy.
Potential new employees.
You never know. You never know. We might expand. We might bring somebody else.
Maybe some new voices that you can throw faces onto.
That would be fun.
Yeah. Who knows?
Send us ideas. But yeah, thank you again for listening, and hope you have a pleasant rest of your day.